PEINTEINGU! It's PEINTEINGU! I missed my cue! It's tree! Cha-cha-chi! I was busy. PEINTEINGU! 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 PEINTEINGU goo 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 goo. PEINTEINGU goo 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 goo. Painting goo goo goo. It's painting feckin' goo. It's painting goo. Painting goo. It's painting goo. Nobody knew what we goo. Painting goo. Painting goo. Painting goo. Painting goo, 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 goo. Painting goo. Ugh. Painting goo goo goo. It's painting feckin' goo. Painting goo. Painting goo. Painting goo. Painting goo. Painting goo. Goo goo goo. Goo 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 goo. Painting goo. Painting goo. Painting goo. If you have any honor, you'll pay the monkey for her services. Welcome, welcome to another glorious episode of PEINTEINGU. It's me. Right, we have a snake and a train to paint. What's the heaviest shit I have that won't have a load of ads? I can't remember if that new one I got is any good. I suppose we'll find out. Oh yeah, this one has a lot of piano and shit in it, doesn't it? Fucking through fire and flames. Ah, right. Let's get these bitches wet. Where's that bitch I haven't used in a while? There you are. Yeah. It's like some heavy piano. Where's my thingy? Well, at least the stool was smooth today. Piano force. Smashing them keys right in your face. Ooh, it's dreamy. Got some purple on this bitch. We make them aubergine for the lols. Few squirts of the tiny mister. To allow the goo to flow. Quite epic. This is halfway through this or something. I was wondering, it's like 10 minutes in or something. I don't remember it starting like that. I'm writing a letter to Trump and Elon. You're writing a letter to Elon as well? The one you wrote to Trump is solid, you know. It's a good idea. It's a cool idea, like. Shit like that does get attention. More than other stuff. May the gods bless your endeavor, brother Emmanuel son. Petty goo goo, goo 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 goo, petty goo goo, goo 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 goo. It's a very pretty color. It's a very pretty color. Red purple. Miraki. Oh, that was well timed. Somebody has a paid for PEINTEINGU. Glorious. Who has honor this day? Who honors their ancestors this fine Tuesday? Let's invest in some shades for the poor primate. Don't worry about Myro's eyes. He doesn't have any. He doesn't need shades. Look at him. He could stare into the sun for days and he wouldn't give a fuck. Look at that stoic, blank expression and that gaping mouth. He looks simultaneously completely undeterred and shocked. Truly, the face of this monkey is one to behold. We need to get the monkey some shades. Well, if he had eyes, I might agree with you. Do not worry, Myro-sama. We shall find a Roku artisan to make you some beautiful eyes for your eye horse. Desmondo-sama. Let's invest in some shades for the poor primate, so his dead, soulless eyes can stop staring at me. I should have just read the whole thing and then gone on my little rant. Let's invest in some shades. It's like, oh, I thought you were looking out for him. It's like, no, so his dead, soulless eyes can stop staring at me. Look at them. Look at them, Desmondo-sama. Peer deeply into the soulless, dead eyes of Myro the monkey. As he rolls you to sleep with his beautiful piano playing, whilst peering deeply into your soul. Oh, fuck. I needed that. He comes from among the poor. They are looking for him. What, Trump comes from among the poor or Elon? Because neither of them come from the poor. He comes from among the poor. They are looking for him. Who are you talking about, Emmanuel? Who is him? Who are they looking for? Oh, excuse me. I don't remember this playlist being this good. What happened? Where did this shit come from? I hear the black market has an eye discount for no questions asked. How did you learn about such a discount if nobody's allowed to ask any questions? That's like the fucking, like... That's the Black Pearl. Never leaves any survivors. And where do the stories come from? Somebody has a paid for PEINTEINGU! Glorious! Many honorings inbound this fine... What day is it? Tuesday. Ah, Pruno-sama! Feeding the monkey! Feed the monkey. I would if I could. I mean... would you dare place something in that mouth? Methinks if I fed the monkey, I'd have to pay the gateway. I'm not feeding the monkey. You can feed the monkey all you want, Pruno. I'm not feeding the monkey. I don't pay him. I don't feed him. Fuck him. I don't fuck him. But you know what I mean. Fuck the monkey. I mean, don't fuck the monkey, but I'm just gonna keep painting. Don't fuck the monkey. I've dug myself a hole. Get over there, Mike. Oh, this anaconda to be like mean as fuck looking. Actually, I have to give it like... I can't give it like normal fangs, because anacondas don't have normal fangs. Anacondas and boa constrictors and here, this is my like... I used to watch Discovery Channel as a child coming out, like... They have like a row of like serrated teeth for gripping their prey while they fuck shit up. And it does have to be an anaconda, because that's what the hat said. It has to be an anaconda. It didn't just say schneck. Can't just do a schneck. So I have to do, like, an anaconda. Fuck. Took me long enough to figure out how to send a tip. Congratulations, Pruno-sama. It is an honor to be a part of your learning process. The monkey feeds on your very soul. The longer he holds your gaze into his empty sockets, the more of you is taken away. If I ever make a cartoon series, there's gonna be a monkey in it called Myro that like just like has no eyes, and like when it stares at you, it just sucks your soul out your face. Like a horrifying monkey version of Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat, like it doesn't say that, and it's just this chimpanzee that walks up to you and just goes thing constantly looks like it's gaping to suck cock. Like, I mean, like, come on, we all knew it from the beginning. I mean, like, look at that face. Like, you know, like, he's ready. He's just ready. What was the female thinking? Like, don't get me wrong, he's cute little ears. But that face. It's the best possible face that she could have given him, considering the context of how I use it. How did you end up with a monkey playing the piano for you? The Monkey King sent a monkey to fuck with me as I attempt to earn my way back into Chinese heaven after that fiasco that happened 3 or 4 years ago. I can't remember how long now, because keeping track of time is new to me, because I'm not used to being a mortar like you filthy mortars. He was sent to vex me, so what did I do? I petrified him. Like Achilles, I dipped him in petrification fluid.
All but his tiny monkey hands. Why? So he could sit there and play the piano for me. Until the end of timer. Your soul is mine.
Like, Myro doesn't say that, and Myro just, like, he just slowly walks towards you and stares at you like that, like. If he gets within about 10 feet of you, your soul just starts to come out of your body, like. That'd be like a horrifying enemy in a game. You know what I mean? Like, if you're like in a dark corridor with a flashlight, and you just round the corner and you just see like that face on a chimpanzee. No eyes, just a ooh. You're fucking terrifying. Painting. Even in his petrified form, Myro is still pulling his weight. I will give him that. You're a good monkey, Myro. Granted, I petrified you, so you've no choice in the matter. Well, actually, his hands aren't petrified, so he could just not play the piano. So, like... Well done, Myro. Perhaps there's hope for this relationship yet. It's like... I petrified everything but his hands, so he has to play piano for me. If you didn't petrify his hands, why does he play the piano? He could just not move his hands. Oh god. Will I come up with another thing? Will I, like, with the lore of Myro the monkey? Myro the piano praying monkey. Not only did I petrify him, but I cursed his hands. I have a monkey with cursed monkey hands. Isn't that a thing in Indiana Jones? Isn't there a monkey hand that's like cursed or something? I petrified the monkey and then I cursed his hands. I am a merciful to my God. Oh fuck, I needed that. Apologies for my lateness. I was roading pirates in torrential rain. It was very wet too. How was the smell? Were you surrounded by Pidgeots? I mean, a Pidgeot is bad enough, but a wet Pidgeot? A sweaty wet Pidgeot? Because he's doing manual labor? That's disgusting. At least Mexicans smell like burritos. Spices and such. Fucking Pidgeots. And their manure. What do they call it? Dung? The dung. We take the cow dung. I fucking love Indians. Oh. Old school Indian ancient warfare and all, like with chakrams and scimitars and like you know that shit that like Owen's been on the last while with like the hammer. Somebody bought him a hammer and all, like all that mace training shit like dates back to like ancient India, where they used to use these things called I think it begins with G or something. It's basically just a big mace, but like they're big ball maces. They're big spheres or oblong things, and then they have ones that have like spikes on them and shit for warfare and all. Like, you know, like it's the Indian warfare shit was like really cool. Chakrams are no joke. You got a fucking like just a ring blade. Ring blades are awesome. You know, you look at a ninja star. It's like, sure, the probability of it sticking in something is like X because it has like so many spokes, and then like you technique of throwing it and shit. But if the whole fucking thing is just a blade and it's like shaped in such a way that you could throw it like a frisbee, you know, you're gonna fling a chakram and like there's just this like razor sharp metal object just flying through the air, you know.
yoga, all that shit. Like, there's some intense gravy in the Indian culture. Yes, they're a bunch of degenerate fucks in many ways, but aren't we all? You know? You can say the same about every culture, like, oh, the fighting Irish and all that. It's like, yeah, like lots of amazing fighters have been Irish, lots of amazing boxers have been Irish, all that shit, like, you know, Conor McGregor, all that jazz, like, the Irish built America, all this fucking shit, like, you know, I know that's rhetoric for the most part, but, like, there was a load of them that, like, you know, in Boston and all that shit, like, loads of these things are true, both things are true, like, do you know what I mean? Like, Irish scumbags are hilarious. I mean, you're off from the bus. Like, Irish scumbags are high pitch and like, all like, you want to talk about like a personality type that has absolutely no idea what honor means, is a Dublin scumbag. Like, they're some of the lowest of the low when it comes to like the mental framework of a human being like that. You know? Some awful people, like. And then you can say the same about other places, like. Their culture was probably better 2,000 years ago. Oh no, like, all of our cultures were better, like, in a sense, thousands of years ago. Especially if you adhere to that thing, the whole Little Season theory. What's that dude's name? I don't know. I can't remember that dude's name. I think it might be Paul or something. There's a redheaded lad on YouTube. It's Understanding Conspiracy or something, and he has that book he wrote called The Nephilim Look Like Clowns. Fascinating shit. He's big into the Little Season theory lately. He's been doing that the last few years. Oh, it's basically the theory that all of this Tartarian old world shit that we see, and you're digging up all of these ancient structures that had, like, you know, parts of them missing, and like evidence of like energy grids that span the whole realm, and like these star forts and all this shit, like, it speaks to like an era before us that was like utterly divine in infrastructure, really clean energy, you know, fantastic structures that looked like aesthetically just amazing, and when you walked into them they like healed you because of the way they were shaped, and then the way that they would like play music through them and shit. Like, fascinating stuff. And then it is kind of like jarring to consider the idea that we live in a timeline that is like fallen. It's like, why now? Why am I alive now? You know, why wasn't I born when everything was awesome? The best way to look at it, I suppose, is that, like, if we are chosen to do things, if you are, like, if you have a destiny, if you have a fate, if God made you for a singular purpose, like every single one of us, there's like some kind of grand scheme, like a giant clock with all these moving parts that synchronize up eventually, then being born in this timeline with all of this evidence of prior glory, and then what we're living through right now and experiencing in terms of this like grand deception and all of these like inverted and perverted ways of living, you could argue that those of us who can see this place for what it is naturally and how divinely beautiful its structure is, and then we look at our society and how like totally contradictory, inverted, perverted and fucking degenerate and shit it is for so many reasons, you could say that we were born here. It's like a privilege. I mean, think of the motivation to pick those particular souls to exist in this particular time, if that's how it works, you know. Maybe it is just random to a degree, I don't know, like. But I think everything happens for a reason. So, like, if we look back and we're like, oh, stuff was so amazing back then and all this shit, and then we look at today and we're like, everything's plastic, everything's temporary, everything's shit. It's like, well, doesn't that mean that we get to be the, like, almost like the foundation of a new era, where like you rage against the dying of the light kind of thing, you know? Even if it's just like some kind of half-baked madness like mine, where I get on the internet and I take the piss and I paint mad shit. At least I'm being productive and spreading positive messages. I consider it an honor, in a weird, fucked up way, to be alive right now, surrounded by all this darkness that we see. Because I can see beyond the dark. I can see what this place is really about. It's a place of unimaginable beauty and sophistication. It is an alchemical miracle of engineering, it would appear. It's an honor to be alive right now. I have to admit, the Indian Qatar is one of the coolest weapons ever. Yeah, they have loads of cool shit. And they know how to use the mace, you know, in its fullness. You have some Indian lads who are like, you know, they don't even need to be that big, like, height-wise. They can be like 6 foot-ish. But, like, they're burly. And, man, they can swing those things, like, in mad ways because of that yoga technique and shit where they, like, they use the mace. They use the physics and the engine, like, they use physics to their advantage, you know? It's very similar to the Shaolin shit where you see all the stuff with, the bows, the staffs and, spears and, like, all the shit they do with, like, pressure points, and it's just an awareness of how stuff works. And then, like, utilizing that, you know? Just like the chakram. You know, it's like, oh, look, a frisbee. Alright, well, what if I made a metal frisbee that's, like, really sharp? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, do you imagine if you just had, like... And they'd be really easy to make. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, a chakram, if you had the steel, a chakram, a ring blade would be, like, way more efficient and economical, as long as you've got the resources, in a sense, than to make, like, a lot of arrows and bows. That requires more, like, mechanical knowledge and engineering and, like, you know, loads of different resources. Like, you know, you need stuff for a rope or a string or whatever, then you need, like, wood, but then you also need metal for the tip and stuff, like, you know, and there's all this, like, forging process. You could just stamp rings out of a mold, you know, or, like, just, like, hack a length out and then bend it into a circle, and then all you have to do is sharpen it and then chuck the thing, you know. And, like, if you got the weight right, it would be sturdy enough to, like, if not take somebody's head off, like, get far enough into their chest or neck, or, like, when you could take a hand off, you know what I mean? If you just have, like, 10 lads just chucking these things, and because of the way you control them, like, you know, you've seen a frisbee fly. Do you ever throw cards? Do you ever throw playing cards? If you know how to throw a playing card, you can fucking mill those things, like, and you can, like, I've done it, like, just with playing cards, never mind, like, a credit card or something. Like, I've, like, fucking butchered a watermelon. Just, like, duh, 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 duh. Like, it takes a bit of practice to be able to, like, the angle and the flick, the release and stuff, like, you know, but, like, there's professional frisbee competitors and shit, like, do you know what I mean? It's like one of those, like, beach games and stuff, like, you know, like, frisbees can be fucking milled at, like, high velocity, and you can, like, if you get good at them, you can, like, curve them onto a target and all, like, and if that's, like, a flying bit of sharpened steel, like, you know what I mean? Such a dangerous weapon, and it's so intuitive, you know? Don't get me wrong, like, bows and arrows are awesome and shit, like, but, like, as far as, like, weapon design, that is just, like, it's like a boomerang. Like, the first time you throw a boomerang and you actually get it to come back to you is, like, such a mad experience. First time I did that, where I got the angle right and, like, I threw it straight ahead of me, and you can see it in real time just start spinning and then coming back to you, and you're just like, that is so cool. Like, just the shape of the wood takes advantage of how this realm works on a fucking physics level, like, do you know what I mean? And, like, how old is that? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's the shit where I'm like, So the stuff they knew, like even mainstream will tell us, is like, oh, that's like hundreds of thousands years old probably, or whatever, like, you know, like the fucking Aborigines, the Indians, like Hindu shit, like some of their stuff is allegedly like 200,000 years old. That's why they know about the fucking grand cycles, like the Kali Yuga and all this shit, like, you know what I mean? Like some of the old, like some of the, like the Vashra is like this like tool that all the gods had and stuff, and it's capable of wielding lightning and stuff. Like I genuinely think like loads of that is real and happened. And one of the reasons that like we live in a state like we do now is because our past is like full of stuff that like you wouldn't even believe. But there is kind of like a weird reverse nostalgia where you're like, it's like a FOMO, but instead of a fear of missing out, it's like a fear of already, like, because like FOMO is like, oh, I don't want to miss it, and like something's coming, you know, but like it's already gone and you don't even know if it really happened. Do you know what I mean? And there's this thing of like, oh, I wish I was alive back then. It's like, be careful what you wish for. I mean, you think it's bad now, like trying to have a job and like pay the bills and work in a warehouse and all that shit. Like, what if you had to, like, you know, pick up a sword and fight a dragon? You know, how many of us would like have the bollocks to actually try it? And like most of us would just die in the process. Like I would, like, I'd give it a try, you know, like, but I'd more than likely get fucked up. Like, I mean, like looking at the people around, like, so what's the deal? Like, do we get a shield, sword? Like, you know, okay, so I'm actually fighting a dragon. Like, I don't suppose there's magic shields, is there? Like, are there wizards? Can I get a buff here? Like, you know, what are the rules of engagement? I mean, I'm not gonna lie, if I could shoot this thing in the chest with a magic arrow, I'm all for it. Like, I'd rather do that than take it on toe to toe. Like, and don't get me wrong, like, I know fucking being in the Ukraine right now would probably suck for so many reasons, but there's all like, it's so stupid. I don't know, like, fucking, maybe at one stage of my life, but I just don't understand how somebody could, like, be, like, you know, yeah, I'm gonna put on the uniform and I'm gonna let, like, other dudes, like, shout in my face for some kind of weird trauma ritual, so we're all, like, bonded like a hive mind and we'll just, like, follow orders, and it's crazy. The form of, like, I think there's a big difference between, like, what people consider, like, you know, so, like, I don't think soldiers are warriors. You get me? There's a big difference between, like, a samurai back in the day and the knight, like, warriors, you know, and then soldiers. Soldiers are just cannon fodder. And cannon fodder can also mean, like, soldiers are just, like, you know, it doesn't have to be a cannon that kills you. It could be, like, a spear or a sword or whatever, or a dragon. But, like, it literally is like soul dire. It's almost like if you go to be a soldier, it's like you immediately, it's like cancer to me, you know. If you go to a doctor because you feel sick in various ways, and you're like, I don't feel well, I'm gonna go to a doctor, and then you go to a doctor, and the doctor's like, oh, based on these symptoms, I think you have cancer, and you're like, and you believe him. That just, like, starts it's like Attack on Titan. It's like you willingly start a chain of events that puts you in the environment and around the people and the stuff that brings forth the reality of you having cancer, in quotes, and then subsequently dying of it or whatever. I think that's how it all works. I think there might have been, like, you know, people with magical powers in our past, and the reason why we don't have it now is because people fucked everything up. And then, because, like, think about it, it's like, oh no, somebody got shot, like in England there the other day, right? It's like, so a foreigner stabs a load of kids, little girls, like, and what do? They take the points off of knives and they restrict the selling of knives. that's not just stupid. That's so stupid. It's hilarious, which tells me it has malevolent intent behind it. It's almost like they're taking the piss out of you, you know? And that's how I think it is. It's like, if you can't handle having godlike powers, then you don't get them anymore. Which, I mean, logically, can you really argue with that? Like, do you know what I mean? I mean, you can argue, who are you to have the authority to do? What if they're the ones that gave us the powers? Do you know what I mean? Like, what if the whole Prometheus thing is true, where it's like some other being comes down, gives humans technology and like powers, the ability to manipulate your environment and matter to like an insane degree. You can fly, shoot lasers out of your eyes, all this shit, and then they're looking at us going like, stop. We didn't give you this power to do all this destruction. We gave you this power so that you could create beautiful things and like have long, epic lives. Like, do you know what I mean? What are you doing? Like, do you know what I mean? And then they argue amongst each other, and they're like, we need to stop it. We need to like we need to like kill them. We need to fuck it. Oh, we can't just kill them. We need to like. It makes loads of sense when you view humanity as like a species that's being taken care of by something, whether it is some kind of divine creator or just another species that, like, you know, has like, in a sense, subjugated or enslaved us or something. Like, do you know what I mean? It just makes total sense that, like, to me anyway, when I think about it, it's like, if you don't stop like ruining shit with titans, we're gonna take these powers off you. And that's why we have all those stories of all this like epic shit. And now it's the same, where it's like, if you can't handle firearms, we're going to take them off you. And we know how to do it in a way where you will give them to us of your own free will. You know? They're that good, like. They're that intelligent. Like, what if it's been AI the whole time? Like, the whole time since, like, the little season. Which may or may not only be the last few hundred years, if you believe all that truth or stuff about, like, they fudged the timeline by 1,000 years or whatever. Like, I'm after going on some rant. At least I don't smear poo on myself and worship demons and wait to commit strugger snugger. And wait to commit strugger snugger. Oh man, Japu comments are the best. Because I could just imagine other people like without a sense of humor, or that like, you know, they don't know what's going on. Like, they could think you're retarded or something. But like, at least I don't smear poo on my surf and worship demons and wait to commit strugger snugger. What the fuck does that even mean? It's like, you don't understand. You need to you need to say it with your chest. At least I don't smear poo on my surf and worship demons and wait to commit strugger snugger. Oh, it's comedy gold. I love your brother, but thoroughly disagree with you. It is an inferior culture. No standards. They cause most accidents. Your Indian saturation point has reached critical mass yet. Or hasn't reached critical mass yet. No, I'd like... It's not that... No, like... I get where you're coming from, but I don't think you actually thoroughly disagree with me. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like... Because, like, what I'm saying is, like, every culture... Just like, you know, Owen would say, like, everybody has their version of niggers. You know? The blacks have nigger. Whites have white trash. But it's the same on the bigger scale for, like, cultures. You know? Not just, like, what do you call it? Races or whatever, like, or a breed, really. Nationality? I don't know, like. But, like, a culture also has, like, because there are good things about Indian culture. Because your culture doesn't last long. If it goes up and down, whatever. But if a culture is like totally wiped out, that means it's been assimilated by another culture. Or like, look at the Chinese. There's a reason their culture has lasted that long. Look at the Irish. There's a reason our culture has lasted that long. You know? It's the same with the Indians. It's like, yeah, don't get me wrong, I completely agree with you with all the fucking, like, you know, they're smelly, they're dirty, they're fucking the way they are with women, like all this shit. But like, their culture is not just that. You know what I mean? Like, when I look at that metal band, like Bollywood or whatever they're called, I can't remember, or is it Bloodywood? I think, are they called Bloodywood? I can't remember. They make good tunes, and I like the way that they love their homeland. They love Delhi, you know, and obviously they come from Delhi or whatever, and they talk about, like, you know, foreigners not being able to handle the food and all, and blah blah. Like, I like their attitude. Do you know what I mean? That they're like a little bit not nationalistic, but they like being from Delhi and they like being Indian, you know, and they're like proud of it and all. Like, you should be like that, like, do you know what I mean? Like, when you see, like, it's good when you, like, if you were to see a lot of Germans right now, instead of like being such cooks generally to the whole like woke ideology, if you were to see a lot of Germans being like really German, do you know what I mean? Like, making amazing feats of engineering, having a wonderful military, do you know what I mean? But it was like based, like, you know, you would be like, that's awesome, you know? It's not like, that's why we criticize cultures where you're like, oh my god, that's nasty, why do you guys do that and all. It's like, if we all keep criticizing each other and you give it enough time, it's funny, because like the other fuckers, like what I see as like demonic fuckers, are like trying to force a one world government because then they can control everything. But if good just prevails, which good prevails like historically, like all the time in a way, like over the long haul, good always wins, because life just keeps going. You'll eventually have cultures that will assimilate each other over and over and over again. Well, you might be left with like just 2 or 3 main ones that are like a weird amalgamation of, like, you know, European, Indian and American and Chinese and all. Like, you see that in a lot of like apocalypse, like fantasies and stuff, like novels and shit like that, where like if you go far enough into the future, like everything rises and falls and gets destroyed and recreated, and people pick up old cultures and stuff like that. So like, you could easily have a sense now, or like, or not a sense, you see a time where like, because everybody was giving the Indians shit about shit, and like, you know, their hygiene and all this stuff and the way they live and like the state of Mumbai, like, do you know what I mean? Just like the denseness and the dirt and the filth of it and the degeneracy. Like what if they go through they hit rock bottom and then go through a cycle like an individual would, where then you see like all the great stuff coming back about India, you know? That'd be awesome to see. Like, because I remember seeing a documentary very similar to that about China, and it was very, like, you know, it was sad to see a lot of Chinese people being interviewed that like miss the old China, like real China, you know, amazing medicine, amazing martial arts, amazing art, like, you know, everything, like, you know, the language, the music, the aesthetic beauty, all that stuff was all just like forgotten about, and they just built massive cities, and it's all just like cheap knockoff crap, and all of these warehouses and production lines with all these people working away as slaves. Like, do you know what I mean? Like the old divine, you know, the mandate of heaven China with the emperor, even if it was a child, like, do you know what I mean? It's like there was a grandness, there was like an opulence to it that like Chinese people are like, we used to be great, you know? I want the old good things about China to come back and all, like, and it's sad to see that. You're seeing it now with the Irish. You're seeing it right now with the Irish. Or the Irish are looking around now, the last few years, being like, what have we become? This isn't Ireland. We're supposed to be having the laugh and the crack and like drinking every weekend because we work. Like, the Irish culture of like binge drinking, similar to the English culture of binge drinking, and probably the American culture of binge drinking, is because we have that culture of like we bust our asses Monday to Friday. You know? You grind Monday to Friday. And then you just completely get faded on the weekend. The blacks kind of have that as well, like. Where like you just fucking get annihilated on the weekend and let it all out. Have a fight, cry, have an argument, like, do you know what I mean? Like, you know, have sex, like all the, you just like completely like what's the term? Like blowing off steam, but like what would like release the pressure valve, like, do you know what I mean? Like depressurize or whatever. Like, it's, I see all of it as just alchemy and physics now, you know. That's why I still don't adhere to any particular ideology or like a belief system, because like I see it all as science. Like, weirdly, like, you know what I mean? I see it as like alchemy. I see it as like the soul, like bioelectrical energy, like the divine, like even the metaphysical realm, I still think is physical. It may be metaphysical. So like in a sense, we like, it's like, you know, we can't like see or touch God, like, but that doesn't mean it's not there. You're just like, you can't see or feel what a snake sees, you know, or a bat or a whale. Like, you know, these things that you can't hear stuff from miles away. Do you know what I mean? You can't interpret like there's a language that nobody ever talks about called the language of the birds. And I don't know if it's like a legit thing. Maybe it's like one of these like archaeological myths or some shit. But I remember there was like a set of movies. There was like a set of like kind of sci-fi movies about it. It was kind of like this cheap knockoff of Indiana Jones or something, like, because he was like a college professor. Before Jesus, or around the time of Jesus, it's like in and around the times of like pharaohs in Egypt and shit, there was like a hieroglyphic language called the language of the birds that was like one of these like occult things that only a few people knew. And allegedly it was like the first language. It's like God's language, because it's literally the language of nature. And they called it the language of the birds, I think, because it was like, you know, just a good name for it, because what do you hear sing all the time when you're walking around? The thing that makes the most noise is like, sure, you could say like grasshoppers or something, but typically it's birds chirping. If you're surrounded by trees anyway, like, you know, and if it's not birds chirping, it's birds cawing, and if it's not birds cawing, it's like you know what I mean? Like they generate a lot of the like ambient sound and music, natural music that you would hear on a daily basis, like no matter where you live, you know. And nobody knows what any of it means, you know. They say that it's like, oh, when a whale does this, when a dog does this, if a dog's tail is wagging, if a dog barks, it's like we've interpreted all of these forms of communication and all of these like inputs as like, this is what this means. But like, do you know? I mean, sure, there's evidence for some of it because of like process of elimination and pattern recognition over a given time period. You'd be like, typically dogs do this when they're happy, typically dogs do this when they're blah. But it's the same goes for humans. And the fucking, what's that fucking psychological breakdown manual, the DSM-6 it is now or some shit, where it's like it's just a huge load of shite based on like a science cult, and like just this arrogant form of like completely fucked up. It's like psychopaths trying to interpret human behavior. That's what I think. Like psychiatry and therapy and the DSM and all that shit is psychopathy's opinion of just you being human and having like pain and suffering and anger and, you know, loneliness and all these things, and like not knowing how to navigate them because you're like, you know, a growing aware sentient entity that like is an individual and all this shit. Like they codified everything so that they could just go, this person has this symptom, so give them this drug. That's all that's for. I think language is the same to a degree, where it's like, no, everybody speaks these languages, and this means this, and this means this, and all. Like, you know, it's just another form of control in a way, where like you what if we knew the like base fundamental form of communication broadly across all species, like what sound fundamentally means? And then you look at the like Tibetan monks and stuff with the bowls and the fucking all this sound shit with like om and all that shit. Like, you know, fucking Owen's spoken about that before. There's like vibratory frequencies and all that can heal you, destroy, like they can heal things, destroy things and all, like open fucking portals, all sorts of shit, like liquefy earth, like, you know, liquefy buildings because they could shake the earth a certain way, like, you know. You can make fucking light using sound in water, you know, which sounds pretty fucking biblical to me, like. Mad shit. It's all just fascinating to me, like. And as far as I can tell, it's all just knowledge of how the realm works and why certain things happen. Typically, it's all just been passed down and like either lied about or, you know, embellished, exaggerated. Sometimes they just leave shit out, like. And then we're all just like scrambling for like meaning and reason, and like who's lying, who's telling the truth, which one's the good guy, which one's the bad guy, does that even matter, what's going on? Like, you know, it's like, just calm the fuck down and do something productive. You know, and you can't say do something that makes you feel good, because that's like, you know if the demons will like, well, this makes me feel good when I do it, and it's like something horrific, like, do you know what I mean? So it's like you can't operate on like, you know, because like it's not just that, like I didn't want to stream today, I didn't want to paint, you know, so it's not, I'm not just doing this because it feels good. You do shit because it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do for me to show up and do this, because you guys assume that I'm going to show up and do this, you know what I mean? Unless I tell you otherwise, like. There's so many like behavioral patterns and decisions that people make for the wrong reasons. It's fascinating. I'm probably way behind the chat. Sacred geometry. I love that shit. That sacred geometry stuff is awesome. Like the tetragrammaton. I can never say that right. Tetragrammaton? I can't remember. And the fucking double helix patterns and like I like symbology. I really like symbology, and I really like the geometrical patterns shit, like shapes and the structure of shapes, because it all leads into alchemy and stuff as well. Like, it's awesome. Like, why do they express fire with this symbol? Why do they express water with this symbol? Like, you know, like the idea of a cross and a circle. So I always thought this was really interesting, right? In Western video games, you always press X for enter. You always press X for enter, right? And circle for back, typically, in Western games. In Asian games, it's the other way around. It's circle is yes, and X is no. Which actually makes more sense, because typically, like, this means stop or no, you know? Like, or X marks the spot. It's like the limit, the location, you know? You've gone far enough, that kind of thing, like, you know? Whereas circle is literally like a door, a portal, a way, you know? A way through, a direction, you know? So, like, that just makes more sense, you know? To use the right shape for the right behavior, you know? Because it makes less sense when you describe it like that, where it's like, why would circle be no or back, and X is like a forward motion or an acceptance? It's weird, like, Shit like that fascinates me. Like, not to say they can't turn it around. I know a lot of them that have really made a solid effort. Yeah, like most of the Indians I've met and like interacted with are like awesome. They're really cool. Like, you know, great sense of humor. And their food is great. You know, I think the reason Indian food gets a bad rap is because of when foreigners go to India and eat, and they have a bad time, you know. In the end, we all have a choice, but to take a dump next to a bus stop with people around takes a certain kind of degenerate mind. Yeah, but like, do you know what I mean? It's like, that's not taking a shit. Like, I've seen. I'm not even playing, right? I know it's not as bad because it's not in plain sight, but I remember being on a bus one time coming out of Lucan, and this is a suburb in Ireland in the mid 2010s. I was on a bus, like maybe under a kilometre away from my house, right? Which is at the time was a middle class suburb in Dublin, right? Lucan. And I'm on a bus, and the bus stop I get to is a housing estate around the corner from mine called Foxborough, right? And there was a Centra there, like a grocery store, a small shop. You guys are probably like a 7-Eleven or some shit, like comparably, a small corner shop, right? And then there's a bus stop across the road from it. We roll up to the bus stop, right? As we roll up to the bus stop, I'm sitting on the window seat on the second floor, and I'm just looking out, right? I see a teenage girl leave the bus stop where she was waiting, because obviously she's seen the number of the bus and was like, oh, it's not my one, I still have time, right? She walks around, so there's like bus stop, fence wall, bushes, and then houses. She walks around the wall into the bushes, where if you're looking you can still see her, right? And she pulls down her stuff and takes a shit. And I'm just like looking down like, oh my god, that bitch is actually doing that. You know? Degeneracy isn't only found in certain cultures. Degeneracy is just like anything else, is like, it's up to the individual. Now there may be a load of individuals in India that are degenerate, but that's because it's just a big problem there right now, you know? It's like, it's the same thing as like, you know, oh, it's the Jews. It's not the Jews. It's a small subsection of Jews that hate the Jews too, and are tricking the Jews into thinking that everybody hates them and wants to kill them. So like, do you know what I mean? It's like, it's not the Indians. It's that subcategory of Indians that are really fucked up. Because the other Indians would agree with you. Do you know what I mean? That they're like, oh yeah, like, those people are fucked, like, you know? It's the same wherever you go, no matter what country you go to, even now with the world like on fire the way it is. No matter what country you go to, you will find people who are high vibration and moral and have honor and like good, true, beautiful, all that shit. There will be some. You might have to look for a while, but there'll be some. And then will also be animals who claim to be human, but they're fucking animals. May as well be lizard people. Hate to agree with the maple monkey, but he's correct. You may make a fine American yet stabber. Yeah, because we've a load of them here as well. You know, we've a load of them here. Like, we've a load of everything though. Polish, Brazilian, Chinese, Roma, Nigerian. Like, we've a load of different Africans here. We have Syrians, Afghanis, Ukrainians. Like, there's so many people here, man. It's ridiculous. They are shipping them in. They're fucking shipping them in. It's actually wild. it's wild to witness, like, what they're doing to small villages and towns and stuff. Like, I've heard that there's a few instances now already where, like, so the population will be so low. I think I briefly mentioned this yesterday. But there's only like 102 people in the German village, and they put like 700 foreign lads in. Like, not foreign women, men, women and children and families, foreign lads, and throw them into this town. So overnight they're like outnumbered 7-1, and like there's just loads of these lads walking around, because they're hanging around corners and shit, like, because they've nothing to fucking do, right? They're just existing there now, like, on the German taxpayers' money and all that shit. Like, hey Margie! The situation that those people are in is crazy, because they can't leave, because nobody will buy their home because of the situation now. So not only will they get no money for the home, nobody will even buy it, you know, because nobody wants to be in that situation. Like, nobody wants to be in that tiny village in the middle of nowhere with a fuckload of foreigners. Like, so the majority of them have been left in this situation where they're essentially trapped and outnumbered by foreigners in their own village because of the actions of their government. Now, one could argue that they are unfortunately and simply reaping the consequences of how they voted. But then you have to argue out, like, you know, yes, clearly a lot of people take part in democratic voting, and you could argue that, like, there's certain countries or institutions that try their best to have a fair voting system, you know. But in my opinion, I don't think you could, especially nowadays, I don't think you could trust any group with that kind of responsibility to accurately assess the majority desire of a population of people, and then go, okay, well, that's the truth of the matter. 56% of the 56% of the population voted this way, so this is the way we're going. I just wouldn't be able to trust anyone with that kind of responsibility these days. I don't think any current regime, society, group has that kind of integrity or power, you know, or time to be able to, like, you know, make sure everybody actually did vote, make sure everybody's info is actually accurate, you know, and then take action based on that vote. As far as I'm concerned, it's just like everything else. Like, you know, it's like simply a form of, like, keeping the system kosher, keeping the status quo in a sense. Things may change drastically left or right, in a sense, but fundamentally they're the same. Like, you know, like Trump and Elon, like, it's cool seeing some of the stuff like, everybody's so sick of the woke stuff that it's cool to see the woke stuff being dealt with, but it doesn't change a lot of the realities of, like, still a politician, still a fucking trust fund lunatic billionaire who wants to, like, put Neuralink in your brain. You're like, you know what I mean? It's like, if you're still of the mind that, like, oh, the good guys are winning now, then you're retarded. You know? You haven't been paying attention at all. The whole point of this is to try and get, at least mentally, forced out of the system. So you're in the world, but not of it. Just like the Bible says. So if you, like, you have to interact with what you have to interact with, you know, and then you, like, use your moral compass to make decisions and shit. But, like, to still have an emotional attachment to that, what is essentially a magic show, in my opinion. It's just corrupt entertainment, you know, in a lot of ways. It may have very real consequences, but like, you could also argue that so did Lord of the Rings, you know? Just because it's a movie doesn't mean that loads of real world stuff didn't happen because people love that movie so much. It's the same stuff, you know? Because people believe shit, people do shit. Because people do shit, shit happens. So that's why the real power is where if you can convince a lot of people that something exists, like COVID-19, you know, then you've got them by the balls. And that's what I think. That's another thing, is like, if you can convince a lot of people that like some cultures are better than others and stuff like that, it's like, sure, in a sense maybe, but it's like the enlightened logical thing to do, in my opinion, would be to form, and this is probably how the fucking secret societies started. It shouldn't matter what color you are, where you're from, what bloodline you come from, any of these things that you cannot change. What should matter is your personal, like, soul, your integrity, the content of your character, or whatever that fucking gay nigger said. The way that you solve a lot of these problems is that you just over time assemble a group of people that you can trust, as far as you can trust them, you know, as far as you can trust anyone, and then you use trust and faith to accomplish a lot of things and build a network that is self-sustaining away from the other system, which is essentially what Owen is trying to do with Bartaria. Like, do you know what I mean? Or the Living Free movement with Tom Barnett or whatever. They're trying to decentralize, you know? But everybody keeps coming to the sobering reality. It's like, even if you get really far when you go down the route of decentralizing, you still have the umbilical cord of the greater society for some shit, you know? Even the dudes who are totally off-grid, totally self-sustained, still, well, then I can't say totally, like, it doesn't matter how off-grid and self-sustaining you are, there will be something you require other people for. It's just like the same way that these fuckers have used your goodwill and your compassion and your empathy, and like, they've used the good, true, they've used your honor and your adherence to the good, true, beautiful against you. They've done the same thing with the reality of humans being a family and community orientated species. So they've made it nigh on impossible to not need the group, but the group is psychotic and broken. So that's where that frustration and dilemma occurs, where it's like, okay, I have my land, I have my chickens, I have guns, I have power, I have water, I have everything I need, and now I have a wife and children, and we have everything we need to live, not just survive, but to live just off the land, right? That's, you could get to that stage, and that's good. That's a good thing. But everybody who gets to that stage gets to a point where they're like, man, I didn't realize how much we all rely on the system, you know? So like, I'm not saying getting there is pointless, it's not. If more people were like Owen Benjamin, the world would probably be a better place for lots of reasons. But if you understand humanity, you understand that, like, that's not going to happen. Because as much as we rely on community and groups, we're still individuals. So you can't force every type of human to be a certain type of human. There's different types of humans, you know? Like, everything from, like, you know, you got the creative types, you got the engineering types, you got the destruction types, you got the construction types, or the fucking generative types. You know, you've got types that love, like, growing stuff and flowers and all this shit, and like I suppose I would be like the artisan class or some shit. Like I just love working with my hands and like making stuff, and then communication. I like communication. I like talking. I like long form communication. I like information and shit like that. Like, but then there's like other, like, you know, there's other people who are just amazing at crunching numbers, and that's like they're totally content. And a lot of us would find people like that weird. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like somebody like that couldn't be the leader of a nation, but that doesn't mean that they're a bad person, you know? Everybody has their part to play. Everybody is like, whether you're a part of the demon machine or the divine machine, you're still a part of a machine. You're either going to take your place in the divine clock, or you're going to take your place in the demon grinder, you know? That, like, I think that is one of the few binaries that actually does exist, where like when you finally get down to a lot of it, it's like life isn't black and white and there's a lot of grey. It's like, yes, that's true, but like when you finally get to a certain point, there is just like a divine divergence of like the light and the dark, and like ultimately I think you do have to make a choice, at least on that. That's why the chessboard is black and white. We're all playing the same game. And each of us is a different piece with different powers. But ultimately, you need to pick a team. And like, I'm on the team of good. I'm on the team of light. I've made that choice. But that doesn't mean there isn't still a part of me that like understands the dark and like why they are the dark. You know what I mean? Like, because there's lots of people on the dark side that a lot of us would get along with, even if it was just temporarily. You know, because they're funny, or like they have like. It's interesting to see it all play out. Like, you know. And that's how I look at it, is just like you just have degenerates in every group, in every culture. Just like, you know, when you're in the bear group a while or whatever, like, and you're like, oh my god, like these guys are all legends. They're all bearded fucking absolute crushers who like build their own shit, make their own shit, run their own businesses, blah blah. But like you still come across the ones that are like total psychopaths, just like every other group, you know. Now the bear group does have like one kind of major difference, that being the fact that like its creator and like main tentpole is like an excellent comedian, like a rhetorically excellent comedian. So like it's a very strong community, in a mentality sense, which is very rare these days. Because it's a very spiritually aware, mentally strong, attempting to be moral community, which is quite rare these days, you know. Which is why it's so, I think Owen and the Bears are so like vilified by all these like freaks, because it makes sense, because they're designed to hate you. That's what their purpose is. I think it's designed to motivate you, you know, but then sometimes it can demoralize you. Like, I've had times where I'm just like, I'm like in awe of how fucked up and stupid people can be. Like, not just like fucked up like, oh my god, horror show, satanic shit, but just so stupid. Like, to the point where like I've seen dogs with more like common sense than some people I've seen. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, ugh. I'm a berserker Nordic, so I probably would have been first to die. Yeah, like, that's the, like, when I think about, like, if I ever became a soldier, I probably would have been a sniper. And I can imagine, like, there's people, like, everybody looks at snipers and they're like, you know, oh, snipers are cool and stuff, me included. But you could easily argue that that's, like, a form of cowardice, in a sense. It depends on your, like, outlook, like, do you know what I mean? I think it's not being an idiot, you know? Because that's why I think, like, soldiers aren't warriors. There's a big difference. Like, you know, warriors engage in battle. Soldiers die, or they don't. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, warriors engage in battle, and battles can be intense, and battle takes, you know, like a physical control and like a high mentality and awareness and a flow state and like all of these things. And but like a soldier quite often is just dead or not dead, you know, like, because it's just a numbers game. So that is void of honor. So for me, and I think that's why it went down like that. When I remember like when I was still in school and I went to that like military thing and I like asked like, you know, if I wanted to be like a sniper in the Irish Army or something like that, how would I go about it, like becoming an Irish Ranger or some shit like that. Like, and based on my attitude alone, like in those few moments, your man was like, no, yeah, I don't think you'd be suited for the job. And I was just like, alright. Like, I didn't even bother arguing with him. I didn't want to go like, why do you think that? Like, I didn't care. Do you know what I mean? I was just like, maybe that would be something I could do. Like, because I was like so unsure of what I was going to do with my life. All I knew, I was like, well, the only really thing I like doing is like drawing and playing video games. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's the only thing that... Which makes sense, because for somebody like me in this environment, in this timeline, I look around and I'm like, oh, I'd rather make up my own shit, you know? Like, when I was a kid, not so much, because there was loads of shit, like, you know, loved Disney, loved fucking... most of the superhero stuff, like, you know, Batman, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Hulk. I don't, like... There was a few I didn't really take to. But, like, most cartoons and shit, like I didn't like Ed, Edd and Eddy. I didn't like Ren and Stimpy. I thought they were ugly cartoons, and I thought they were, like, stupid and ugly. So I didn't like them. But a load of people like them. Do you know what I mean? It's even stuff like that, like, it's crazy. Like, you know, I love, like, Samurai Jack and Jackie Chan, and, like, you know... I wanted to grow up to be strong and cool and, like, loved and shit, like, do you know what I mean? But they're, like, even from a young age, there's some people who, like, I remember these two kids from primary school, fuck, like, what are they called? Mick and Shane, and they were scum. Like, you could line up all the kids in our class, and like you could tell out of everyone in the class, when you saw Mick and Shane, you could just tell that they were like poor scum. Which, like, looking back, it's like, oh, like, God bless them, like, God only knows what their home life was like, do you know what I mean? But they were assholes. Nobody liked them. Like, they were just little scumbags, like. And they were children. I remember there was a lad that was, like, clearly gay. There was a few of them. There was, like, not that there was... His name was Mark, and there was loads of Marks. Not that there was a few gays. But I remember being, like... And this is back in, like, fucking, like... I mean, like... Senior infants or, like, first class. I was, like, what? Fucking 7 or some shit, maybe? And I remember sitting beside this young fella, and we were all making these things out of cotton wool and toilet roll things. You know, the cardboard rolls, toilet rolls. We were, like, making trees or something, because I think we were painting them, like. And this young fella had, like, a physical repulsion to the feeling and the sound of cotton wool, which I thought was funny, because I could hear it and I could feel it, and I was like, okay, I kind of understand where you're coming from, that it's like a slightly irritating noise, but why are you having such a profound reaction to it? Like, do you know what I mean? You're having like a physically overwhelming reaction to it. That's weird, like, you know. I remember being a kid thinking this, not in such an articulate way, but I was just like, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't affect me like that. Why does it affect you like that? Like, you know, and then I just remember watching his behavior for the rest of that day, because he was sitting beside me. And I remember thinking, at that age, I was like 7, like, so what, like, it's like 2000 something. like fucking, I can't even remember, I'm not doing the maths right now. And I remember thinking to myself, I was like, is he gay? Because even back then, it was like I was aware that, like, gay men existed. and it was just a man who's like really girly, you know. That was my understanding of it at the time, like, and even then it creeped me out. Like at a young age, I was like, I don't want to sit beside this guy. He's weird, you know. It's so not okay. Like, you're going on like a girl. Like, there's girls over there. I've been around girls. You're acting like a girl, but you're like me. You're a guy. That's like so fucking. It's just weird. Like, there was another young fella who was like trying on dresses and wearing high heels and all when we were doing drama class and all. Like, and I remember thinking the same thing. I was like, that's not normal. Like. And then when I grew up and like a bit, and I was a teenager and stuff, like, and all these like societal things are said and all, I thought I was the weirdo. I was like, so I'm an asshole because I think they're like freaks. I'm a bigot. I'm a racist. I'm a homophobe. And then you're like, what does homophobe mean? It's like a phobia. I don't have a phobia of gays. I'm not afraid of them. They disgust me. And like that alone, like that just that is like so fucked up, that like you grow up in a society that convinces you that your instincts are wrong. Do you know what I mean? Can you imagine raising a dog to never bark? Like, that's so fucked up. Like what they've done to us is like really fucked up. But obviously, like, I do agree with like Owen's sentiment of like, you're not a victim, like, do you know what I mean? Don't have a, because then you can't do anything. Like, I totally agree with that. Like, a victim mentality is not a winner's attitude at all. Like, you can't grow, you can't learn, you can't like do anything, like, you know. But there is this like acknowledgement that has to happen on like and maybe that'll happen in the next few years with all of this like revelations of info, like the UFOs and all this governmental federal shit and blah blah, like all the lying and the corruption and shit. But one of the things that really has to be acknowledged is just the fucking, like, trauma, mental and spiritual trauma that the education system and entertainment and media has inflicted on, at least as far back as, like, my parents. Because, like, a lot of us are seriously fucked up and twisted. Like, a lot of us are like really damaged and broken. And like, to be like somebody like me, and then like I don't know what to do with seriously broken and damaged people, because I'm kind of one myself, like in various ways. But like, I at least know and feel that I've gotten to a stage where like I'm growing and I'm good and I'm like going somewhere, you know. I don't know what to do with people who are like where I was. I don't know how to help them, because there's like quite often there's nothing like you can say. There's nothing you can like do really, like, do you know what I mean? Because free will is so powerful. Free will is like so fucking powerful that there's like nothing you can do. Like, Owen has learned this heavily over the last few years, where he's like, I used to help people, I used to give people money, I used to like try and do the right thing, like, do you know what I mean? Like, and like there is a lot of truth to that, where it's like, what's that in Jurassic Park, where it's like fucking I had the best of intentions, when he steals the egg in Jurassic Park 3, and the young scientist steals the egg, and that's why the pterodactyls end up like chasing them, and like people get fucked up and killed and all, and one of the kids get like kidnapped and shit. And your man, I can't remember the doctor's name, the older doctor, turns around to him, he's like, some of the worst things imaginable were done with the best of intentions. Do you know what I mean? And he's probably like, that's probably a shout out to like, isn't that a Spielberg movie? So it's probably that's probably like a esoteric shout out to the fucking Holocaust or something. So whatever about that, but it's a true statement. It's a very true statement. Like, do you know what I mean? You have these like, and I've done this. I've been like, but I want to help, and then you end up making things worse. And it does suck. You're like, oh shit, like that's not the effect that's not the desired result. That, like, you know, I was trying to do good, and now everything's worse. Like, oh fuck, like have I fucked it entirely now? Like, you're like, oh, what am I doing? Like, it's a horrible feeling because you're just trying to help. Like, it's like, it's like you try to pull someone out of a car wreck, and you pulling them out of the car wreck, like, detaches their spinal cord in a way, and like, yeah, you pulled them out of the car wreck, but the car wasn't going to explode, and now they're paralyzed from the waist down, and then they end up like suing you or something and shit. Like, like stuff like that has like happened. I've like read reports of stuff like where like, somebody tries to do something good and they end up like killing someone, or like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, it's weird how that can happen, where you're like, oh no, that's bad, I can help, and then you go to help and like something even worse happens, and you're like, oh shit, like I should have not done anything, like I should have kept my mouth shut. And then the same can be said of like, can you believe that these people fucking did this to that village? Do you know what I mean? Can you believe this? Did you ever hear about this atrocity? Like, do you know what I mean? And quite often some good comes from it. It is weird how the elites kind of have a point with the whole, like, if I didn't try to kill you, you wouldn't defend yourself. If I didn't trick you, you wouldn't know I was lying. If I didn't traumatize you, you wouldn't be strong. Like, there is a sliver of truth in it and all, but it is so fucked up. Because you'll end up being strong, but a little bit like fucked up, which is kind of where I'm at. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm strong, but I've an edge to me, like, where I'm like, I got scars, nigga. Like, I'm a bit of a lunatic, like, but I can take stuff, and I can move forward, like, But then you get like a lot of other people just break, and like I broke in a sense, not completely. I don't think I broke. I think I just hit rock bottom. Several years ago when I was like buying a rope and a bottle of vodka. Like, I was like, fuck this, I don't want to be here anymore. Like, that's like, I didn't like it was despair. Like, I was fed up, frustrated, angry. But it's not the same vibe as this, like, I just can't do this anymore. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I always hated those people. Those people always disgusted me. Like, it's almost like, it's kind of like a war vet thing where it's like, somebody's like acting like a gangster and they got a gun and like, they're like flashing it around and all, like, and then one of their mates gets shot in front of them and all, and like traumatizes the shit out of them or some shit, like, and then there's like a war vet sitting beside them in a bar being like, you think you've seen some shit and you did all of that of your own fucking volition. Like, you got into the gang, you got into the drugs because you thought it was cool, and look at you thought you were a fucking gangster with your gun and all, like, and now your mate's dead. Yeah, well, I went to try and fight for my country and I ended up shooting kids. Like, you don't know what like demon shit is, you little pussy bitch. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like, I felt like that about other kids when I was going through my shit, because like I carved myself up like a fucking Christmas dinner with a fucking blade out of a pencil sharpener, and then I didn't even tell anyone about it, like, do you know what I mean? But then I also wouldn't hide it, so then people would just see the bloodstains and be like, dude, what the fuck? And then I'd be like, oh shit, like, yeah, whatever. I made it out to be nothing. I'd like fob it off like, I'm fine, it's superficial, it's just like whatever, like. And then I'd see these little queers coming in with like a fucking My Chemical Romance fucking armband on, hiding like their self-harm scars, and it's like, you could tell that they took, just like a pointy object, maybe a needle, maybe a fucking bobby pin or something, or even a compass, and just like scratched themselves. That's all they did. Like, they didn't actually like try to kill themselves. They didn't try to like cut themselves. Like, I carved myself up bad, like, to the point where people thought I got attacked by a fucking dog or something. Like, do you know what I mean? Like I'll never forget when a mate of mine, like a mate of a mate, turned around to me one time, and because of his accent, it was so much fun. He was from England, and was he Liverpool or Manchester. I think it might have been Liverpool. A very thick accent. And he's like, Jesus Christ, you get attacked by a pterodactyl? It's like, a pterodactyl, man? Like, yeah, like, I fucking got on my private yacht and I fucking spent a weekend in Isla Sorna and I fucked with the fucking lizard birds. Yeah, like, that's how I got this. Like, so fucking stupid. Hilarious. Like, because people used to be like, you'll just stand there with your top off and like, do you want people to see your scars? And I'm like, no, I just don't care. I do not give a fuck what other people think. Do you know what I mean? Like I give a fuck what, like, if I care about you and you're close to me and all, like, and we develop a relationship and all, like, I'll care what you think. I'll appreciate your opinion on things. I'll take your opinion into account, and it will, depending on who you are to me, it could even sway my thought on something. I really do love the people that I love, but when it comes to certain things, I do have a bit of like a disgust and a disdain towards like greater humanity, to a degree, where like if a stranger makes like some kind of comment or a judgment or something like that, like if I was king, I probably would just kill him in the street, like American Gangster style. Do you know what I mean? If somebody just said some shit, I'd just be like, I just kill him. Like, because that's how that kind of world works when that shit happens and all. Like, that's why that's in that movie. What are you gonna do? Shoot me in the middle of the street? Well, like when you have people in an environment that think that, like, whatever about free speech, like, do you know what I mean? But it's like when you have people in an environment who think they can say whatever they want to whoever they want with no repercussions. That's not free speech. Free speech is you are free to say. It's the same as like general freedom. Freedom to do what? Well, it's not the freedom to be so much of a cock in public that I want to put you down. Do you know what I mean? That's not what that freedom's for. But that's what some demons fucking use it for. Oh, I can do anything? Oh, well, I'll just do this then. Those people just need to be dealt with. I probably have the Germanic equivalent of that in me. I'd have followed Alaric all the way to Rome to kick ass and chew bubblegum with a severe lack of gum. Let's get a ratio for GNs. I say 99 to 1. GN's definitely. Overall cheats 90%. Man, good luck. Isn't there like 1 billion of them or some shit? Like, that's why the bears will outlast. Yeah, like the bear community is going to be around for a long time. Long time. Homo-revulsion. Like, yeah, like it's like it's almost like I'd sooner describe it as like having a fucking when you have like a gag reflex or you're allergic to something. Oh, you homophobic? I'm not scared of gays. They disgust me. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it is that. Like, that's why I love Owen so much. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, in terms of like an entertainer, a speaker, like who like represents like what people think. That's why I loved comedy growing up. It's like, so a comedian would say something and the crowd would be like, just like, yes, that is exactly what it is. Thank you. Like, I've been waiting for somebody to fucking hit the nail on the head, and you just did it right there. And it could be anything. It could be describing, a dispute between you and your missus. Hating your boss at work. Fucking, politicians being liars. Like, just like striking the metal cleanly, And he really did with that one, where it's just like, I am not afraid of them. They disgust me. Like, because that's like I remember the years of acting like I agreed with certain things, because if you didn't, people would ostracize you. And that's the truth. Like, and like, fuck all people would probably like to admit it. Like, do you know what I mean? But it's like the amount of times, I stop myself from going, "That's fucking rank," or like, "Eh," or you know, or just like, "That's wrong," or like whatever. I just kept my mouth shut, you know. But I remember some instances, I think I said this a while ago. I can't remember, but like maybe I said it to somebody else. But like I remember being at a gaff party and like I got told that like I turned around and was like, yeah, was it because he was looking at me first? I can't. I think it might have been because one of the female friends that I had, like my mate's girlfriend at the time, was laughing, and I was like, "What?" And then she pointed at a guy across the kitchen, and she was like, "He is like eyeing you up." And like I probably did look like yeah, I definitely did say this on stream before. Like I was wearing like a tight white tank top, and that was it. And I had a shaved head at the time, so like I did look very like intimidating and like masculine. Like, do you know what I mean? Whatever about like good looking or like really attractive, I just looked like rough, you know. And apparently there was a gay lad there. And he was like, "Oh, he's a bit of like he's nice now." Like, and I was just like, it really fucked with me. Like, do you know what I mean? It really made me feel weird. Like, where I was just like, that is just like rank. Like, eh. And like, of course, like there was a moment where like I just look around, and we all started laughing. But the more I thought about it, it was just like I didn't want to speak to him at all. Like, do you know what I mean? There wasn't a single part of me that was like even remotely curious as to why. You know, in terms of like, have you always been like that? Like, do you know what I mean? Like there's been times where I've like wanted to sit down with a gay guy and be like, because I don't have the personal experience of that anecdote of like, oh no, yeah, any of the gays I've met, like, you know, they've told me stories about when they got molested as children or whatever. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and I'd easily believe it to be true. You know, it makes a lot of fucking sense. But like, I'd love to just bluntly speak to one and be like, "So what happened when you were young? Like, do you know what I mean? What was your upbringing like? You know?" And then get like 100 of them and just sit them down and talk to them, and just for myself be like, "No, yeah, like that is totally accurate. Like, they're all fucked up. That's why they're gay." Like, you grew up in a household like this, your father did that, you didn't have this, you grew up in an orphanage, this happened to you because the priest did this. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like they're all just broken. Or not even, like, maybe not broken, just like they're malfunctioning. So like, just because you have a virus on your PC doesn't mean that the PC is gay now. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, we'd say that in the bear community. We'd be like, "Oh, my PC's being gay," but like that's how they see it. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, well, like I like sticking shit up my ass and like sucking dick, and I like how men look, so I'm gay. It's like, no, you're conflating being fucked up in the head and like your wires are crossed. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Do you know what I mean? That's like, it's like a limp katana. Like, you know, it's like, or I don't know, like, you know, like you could like come across a dude who's like using a long sword to hammer in nails. Like, do you know what I mean? You're kind of like, dude, like, what the, like, there's a hammer right there. Do you know what I mean? No, like, no, I'm gay. I'm gonna like it's just, it doesn't make any sense. Which is why makes sense that it's trauma that causes it, because it doesn't make any sense. This bullshit of like, I know there's the fucking argument of like, yeah, but like when they swipe fucking gay images in front of a gay guy, like his brain lights up and all. It's like, yeah, because like you could do the same thing with a fucking trained dog. Probably. I don't know that for a fact, but I can imagine it's the same thing. Like, do you know what I mean? You train a dog a certain way and then you put an image of the thing in front of it and its brain lights up. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like, that to me, that's all that is to me. It's like, you know, fucking, oh, but when they scientifically prove that some guys are just, they just love cock. Like, no, you've scientifically proved that these guys are like trauma bonded to certain stimulus. You know, like the only way you'd be able to prove that is like if you caught a young fella like right at puberty, and he had like the most based normal upbringing, and he just naturally was like, no, I like men, I think they're beautiful, like whatever, like, do you know what I mean? I don't like women or whatever. And that doesn't even make any sense. Do you know what I mean? Because like a normal man like me, who like loves the female form, attracted to women, I still look at like dudes with like a big physique and I'm like, oh man, I wish I had like traps like that or something, like, you know what I mean? I need to do more dips. You know, like I still appreciate the male form for its purpose. You look at a guy who's like 6'4" and you're like, dude, what can you lift? Like, Jesus, like you make me look bad. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's an admiration. There's like it's like when another guy is like really good with a gun. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like, whoo, god damn, you can look after your family. Like, there's like a fucking appreciation, a gratuity, and an admiration for like, stuff being used for the right purpose. Like the comedy thing, like thank you, finally somebody said it. It's the same feeling when somebody like, you know, nails a 10 out of 10 on a shooting range or something. It's like, finally somebody who knows how to handle a weapon. Like, you know, like it's like, oh. The question is, what you do with the pieces. Put them back together or keep them broken. Got to build. Some pieces can't be forced into place. That's what I think, like, you know, a big problem now is people trying to force other people to be a certain way. Because you see the way all of these fucking woke lunatics kept using the excuse of like colonizer, crusader, toxic masculinity and all. It's like, so our ancestors had the will, the balls, and the determination to rid scum like you from the earth, whether it be by sword or flame. And now that we have created such a situation because we killed all the scum, that sloth and greed and like we killed so much scum that we were able to build a fantastic civilization. It was so fantastic that we got weak and gay, and now we're probably gonna have to do it again. But because everybody's weak and gay, Bill Gates is the one killing everyone. It's a soft crusade. Like, think about it. Like, you know, think about how much of a fucking loser, like how much of a queer little faggot loser you have to be like, you know, fucking take all the statues down. All these are like like tyrannical dictators, colonizers, butchers, like, do you know what I mean? Cause like even if it was true that like you just butchered everyone, like real men, like look at Genghis Khan or like fucking Alexander the Great and all, like even like conservative Christian historians would look at people like that and be like, great man. But like, I mean, you have to admit, I mean, like, yes, that's a lot of death and like, you know, but like what you have to be a great man to like, and that's the truth, like, do you know what I mean? Like, you know, like, you're not going to amass that much of a following who are willing to die for you if you're not an absolute badass in like at least some way, like, do you know what I mean? And then you end up with like the woke brigade having faith in people like Hillary Clinton and Biden, like blatantly corrupt scum of the earth. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, blatantly corrupt scum of the earth who they've probably never killed someone with their own hands, never picked up a weapon, never done a hard day's labor in their life. Like, do you know what I mean? And a hard day's labor doesn't have to be like, a hard day's labor is what Stabberdoo does, is what fucking, Desmondu does, cleaning buses, lifting boxes. That's what I did for a living. I did that for like 3 or 4 years in like 3 or 4 different places for 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, fucking a year. Like, do you know what I mean? Just this warehouse, that warehouse, cycle here, cycle there, lift those boxes, get in this van, fucking like, just move, lift, move, lift. Like, listen to propaganda on the radio, listen to the fucking foreign talk, listen to foreign languages. Like, watch your culture and watch your world rapidly change around you in like a really fucking bad way. But you fucking work, you scum. Like, do you know what I mean? That's the mentality that it's like you're not allowed to complain about shit that is like obviously fucked up. You're not allowed to fucking voice your opinion if it's the opinion that we've deemed illegal. You're not allowed to say the things that you're not like, because we're playing Harry Potter right now when, like, there's more than one word than fucking Voldemort and all this fucking shit. Like, it's like so fucking depressing and just grey sludge, godless wilderness bullshit that even guys like me who are like, no, like, I like doing stuff. I like, I just get a job, I'll have money. Ooh, I got myself a new stereo system, like, play video games. Like, all we wanted to do was work and be loyal and, not even be rewarded, but just, like, get our due. Get, like, where's my cut? Just give me my cut. I was like a mercenary. Is like, show up, do the task, pay me my money, I'll go home, I'll see you tomorrow. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you can't ask for more than that. Like, that's why, like, I was so like, fuck this. Like, fuck you people. Like, why would anybody subject themselves to this kind of fucking... It's depraved to expect people to put up with that kind of shit. Like, when you're just blatantly lied to by the people who make the law. Like, these people are entitled to jobs. These people are entitled to homes. What? You mean the foreigners you're shipping in? What about us? Like, we're not entitled to any of that. No, you're scum. What do you mean you are us? Like, we're you. Like, what the fuck? It's so fucked up. Like, it's crazy. This island's gone mad, like, and everyone's talking about it now, which is cool. It's cool to see, like, loads of different people on YouTube talking about how fucked Ireland is and how the the politicalist, the political class and the working class has been annihilated. The working class has been annihilated. Like, they literally do, like, they're actually holding huge, what do you call them? Like, fucking, I can't even think of the word now, but they're holding like a hiring day. What's that? An expo, like a jobs expo. Like, they held one there the other day in Crow Park, which is a stadium where our Irish lads who love playing hurley, who don't get paid, even though they're professional hurlers, they don't get paid for it for some fucking stupid reason. They just do it as a side piece, like, which is crazy. You have to really fucking love hurling to fucking do that shit, like, And they're gonna use a stadium like that is renowned for our sportsmen, playing our national fucking sport and all. And they're gonna use it to mass hire foreigners into clothing shops, restaurants, offices, like office workspaces, like, do you know what I mean? And when it comes to offices, it could be anything. Do you know what I mean? The amount of office buildings that are just full of desks with computers, with talking heads. It could be customer service, it could be online sales, it could be fucking logistics, it could be email, like, they're all they could all be and probably will be replaced by AI in a few years. All that'll be redundant. A program could do everything that you do. Why are we paying you 30 grand a year? You know, which is fucking nothing now. 30 grand a year is fucking nothing. Because a house is like 500 grand. You know what I mean? Like, it is. It's crazy. Like, and like, it makes sense why people freak out when you turn around to them. It's like, yeah, well, you asked for it. I mean, like, we all took part in this. We all fucking watched too much Netflix and ate the junk and blah, blah, blah. Fair enough, I didn't take any vaccines or wear a mask, but, like, you know, I'm not... It's not like I'm not complicit in it in other ways, you know. I love Kit Kats. Like, I eat takeaway. Love pizza. I like Indian food. You know. We're all complicit in it in some way. That's why I'm just sick. I'm sick of weakness. I'm sick of people being weak. I think it was one of the reasons why I wanted to give up years ago. Was like, I was just like, I was sick of being the positive one. I'm like, I think that's a real issue for me because I experienced that during COVID, and I'm kind of like, I have it today. That's why my mood is off today. Where like, I'm sick of being the positive one. I'm sick of the one generating the good vibes. That's why I love Owen's stream so much. Because for years I was always the one generating the good vibes, and like everybody would just suck the fucking life right out of me with their problems and their weakness and their ego and their fucking bitching about this and bitching about that. When you could easily assess them and just be like, you've nothing to complain about. You've got this, and this. Fuck off. You know? If you're gonna come to me to like just bitch about your fucking existence, get the fuck away from me, like, you know, like I've had that too much these days. There's like people just suck the fucking life out of me. Like, oh, I can't handle life. I've this issue and that issue and all. Like, and then like from my perspective, I'm like, you have it so easy. You've no idea how easy I have it. Like, it's ridiculous. Utterly fucking ridiculous. Like, some people have it so hard and they just have a smile on their face like all the time. And I'm not saying like I have it really hard. I don't. I've even been like, I've like been content and acknowledged it the last few years. And I'm like, oh God, I'm so grateful that I have the opportunity to do this and like just have these opportunities. I'm just so grateful to still be here, that I didn't like make that stupid decision years ago to finally just like put myself at the end of a rope. Like, grateful to be here. I like doing this shit. I like making people happy. But you've only got so much of it, like, do you know what I mean? You've only got so much of it, like. And it's crazy some days where I'm just left standing there being like, how could you be so weak? Which I suppose is hypocritical of me, because even like contemplating suicide years ago was a form of weakness, you know? Getting into that headspace of like, oh, maybe I should just kill myself. You know, like... But like, I think that's where my dark humor comes from, where it's like, I was never like, I just want to die. Like, I was always just like it was never despair. It was always like maybe it's despair. Is despair just like fed up? Like, despair always seemed like, you know, wailing and crying and like, you know, panic mode of like, what am I gonna do? Like, you know, I was never like that. I was always just like, I'd get really angry and frustrated and then fed up and then sad. That was the cycle, you know? Frustration leads to anger, leads to rage, leads to just like sadness. It's like what Yoda said, like, you know? I was so frustrated and surrounded by so much shit and all this stuff sucking energy out of me and all, like, and the whole time all I wanted to do was like, I just want you to be happy, and I want you to be happy, and I want you to be happy, and I want you to be happy, like, and I never fucking took the time to make myself happy. Last few years I've been doing that. Last few years I've been really focusing on, like, you know, trying to make myself happy. Be okay with me, you know. And I am. I like me. People like me. Some people don't. Fuck those people. Like, I just don't care anymore. Like, I am, like, kind of detached in that sense where I'm like, somebody could say something to me and I'm just like, okay. You do you. Like, I don't give a fuck. I have shit to paint. Like, oh god. Well, I hope you enjoyed my bitch session. Am I the only one feeling it today? Is that why I'm saying this shit? Was I meant to do this? I don't know. At the beginning, I was kind of trying to hide it. I was trying to just stick music on and I'll paint. But yeah, I'm in a foul mood today. Cars always explode. Haven't you ever watched Dukes of Hazzard? It's scary when they do explode, though. I've watched Cops a few times. I've watched Cops enough times to see a few of those instances where somebody wrecks bad, and they have to get them out. They're like, get them out, this thing's gonna catch, like, or it's already on fire when they get to it, and they're like, oh fuck. It's scary when that shit happens. And I've seen it's even worse now on the fucking electric cars, because like, if you've ever seen a battery explode or like leak, I've seen a battery do that, like fucking where it just goes like and like it's like a fucking blowtorch. It's just like, and then it just goes pop. Mad dangerous. So fucking dangerous. So unpredictable and very dangerous. And that was like the battery of a phone. So I can only imagine what, like, I've seen videos and shit, especially in China, the knockoff ones. They fucking, like, I've seen one where like somebody was in the car and the engine in the front just starts like smoke. You see smoke coming out of the bonnet, and they're on their phone, and then they see the smoke and they go, oh shit, and they try and like start the car or something, like, you know, and they quickly assess that they're just like, oh shit, I should just get out of the car. And they get out of the car, and the second they get out of the car, the flames come out from under the bonnet, and within like less than 10 seconds the thing gets so hot and such a raging inferno is like combusting from the fucking car, that the whole like the whole bottom of the car like drops, and it starts like fucking, you know, jets of flame and sparks and all. Imagine fucking not like there's been a few cases where, like, you know, they crash and that happens and the person's still inside the car unconscious, like, you know, like there's wild stuff going on. I remember several years ago there was a crash here in Ireland on one of the major motorways. I think it was the M50. And it was a middle-aged woman. She decapitated herself. I don't know how she managed that one. I don't know if she was in a soft top or a convertible or some shit like that, or if I think a truck hit her or some shit, or she drove into a truck. That's just wild, though. You know, like just mad shit happens on the daily. Whatever about the big story stuff, like, do you know what I mean? Just like everyday stuff can just be fucking wild. That's why I love watching the real shit. You know, like interviews or documentaries or crime dramas or like fucking cops or something like that. Because like that's the real stuff. That's the everyday stuff, you know. Families breaking apart, fucking calling the cops, like domestics and all, fucking gang warfare, fucking a cop tries to like just pull someone over and give him a ticket because his tail eye is out, and then it ends up in a chase because your man's got dope on him and he doesn't want to get caught. And then there's this whole rigmarole. Some people end up getting shot, like, do you know what I mean? Like, and it's just like chaos can just unravel out of like the most basic everyday shit. Like, I can imagine anybody listening to this right now and they've got kids. It's like, yeah, fucking tell me about it. Oh, no, did not mean to go back up that far. Come back down here, you. Isn't a limp katana a razor whip? Oh, actually, the Indians have a weapon like that. The Indians have a whip that like that's a blade. It's basically a really long thin sheet of metal with edges on it and all, and like it's one of those things that, like, you know, whoop, 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 you get that wobble effect, like with the metal like wobbling and shit, like like fucking like that's hilarious. You could just describe that as like, look at this Indian lad with his gay little limp, his flaccid sword. The Indian's like, it's not flaccid sword, is a Kandara whip, you know, like it's an ancient whip and all. Like, I've seen people trying to demonstrate how to use one and all, and they're not. That's a weapon that seems incredibly impractical. You know, like there's always the weapons that end up being used because they work, and then there's the weapons that are made, and then they look dangerous, and they're kind of like, on paper they sound good. But then when you actually try to... It's like when you see martial artists being like, you know, and then I use this technique, and then we do this, and then we do this, and then you get the same guy, you put gloves on him, give him a gum shield, and put him in a boxing ring, and he gets fucking weaved into the canvas in 10 seconds. It's funny to me, like, we will make a sword whip, you know? Because whips are amazing and swords are amazing. So we will take a whip and a sword and we will make a sword whip and it will be amazing. And then you make the sword whip and it's like, it's like, this is the shittest, most impractical thing ever in my life. Like, it's ridiculous. You'd be better off just using barbed wire or razor wire or something, like, you know, like, even then, like, it's not the... You probably could make a fairly efficient and dangerous metal whip. Because then it wouldn't even need to be bladed, like, do you know what I mean? You ever seen the shit you can do with whips? People are really good with bull whips and all. They fucking, like, take a candle out. Fucking mad shit. Like, that thing hit, like, there's a reason that, like, you know, that used to be a punishment, like, do you know what I mean? It's like 33 lashes or whatever, like, do you know what I mean? Fucking... There's a scene in one of the Underworld movies, those vampire movies, where I think it's the Rise of the Lycans. I fucking love that. Victor, he's played by Bill Nye. He's like an elder vampire. And he was like, 30 lashes to be carried out immediately. And like his daughter is like, please don't do this and all, like, because it's her fella that he's going to whip or something, like. And then, or is it her he's whipping? I can't remember, for disobedience. But somebody's getting flogged anyway, badly. And they start whipping them. And then Victor, like, talks to someone very sternly and says something real cold. And you can just hear the whipping in the background. And then he turns around and he goes, by my count, that's 21. Continue. And then just leaves. Like, I love that real, like, that's my favorite form of acting, is that thespian, I will pronunciate exceedingly accurately. Like, with intent, with violent intent in my voice, you know, like, it's fucking brilliant, like. But that should tear your flesh right off your back. Bullwhips are no joke. It's not just the noise. But like, bullwhips are not all bark. That bite would fucking sting like a motherfucker, like scar you up, no bother, like. I think it'd peel your back off if the guy knows how to use it, like, it'd just fucking peel your whole back off in minutes. Reducing a nation to an economic zone is one of the most heinous things you can do. Yeah, like, it's all just again, like, Owen hit the nail on the head when it's all just like scale and efficiency. Totally apathetic efficiency. Cold, demonic, void of, like, I don't know, like, sometimes I'm like, you think of demons as like having hatred, you know, like hating you, kind of like Vox would, because he's got the more Christian view where he's like, these people are demons and they hate you. That feels more true. That definitely feels more true. But then sometimes I'm like, is it true, like, when we're talking cosmically, when we're talking like the spirit realm, right? Is that actually like what we're there's us, and then there's the spirit realm. Is there another place in between? Is there many places in between? Because part of me thinks that, like, there's, like, us and the material realm, and then there's, like, the ether realm, which is the shit that's, like, here, but we can't see it. But it's here, and it's real. But, like, we just don't always interact with it, you know? I think demons, for want of a better definition, are here and within us and influencing us, and they surround us in a metaphysical sense. But I don't think they're on the same plane as, like, God or gods or the archons or whatever ideology you want to go into, where it's like there's a hierarchy of this place, you know. And there's ones where it's like, was it polytheism, where there's like a council or a pantheon of gods that make up the whole thing. But even then, don't they have like a father god? I can't remember. And then there's like the monotheism, which is like God and his son Jesus, you know. And like, to me, it just seems like it's an attempt to have better models, you know. Just like with the science models, to me, it's just like, what's your spiritual model? I like how Gardner describes it, where he's like, what's your cosmology? What's your personal assessment of your own existence and its effect and properties within this realm? You know, the whole thing of having like when you see the sun, only you see that sun, because when somebody else looks at the sun, they can't be in your exact position. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I do kind of get where he's coming from. Frequency is location, all that shit. Like, you're at where you're at because of your vibe, you know. And if that's true, then I like where I am at, you know. At least for the most part. There's a few things I'd change, but I'm still growing. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. So much weakness and whining. I try to show mercy where I can. Exercising the fruitage of the spirit is not always easy for me. Yeah, it's hard being surrounded, like, cause it's not easy being strong. You know, working out hard and actually like building muscle hurts. Healing hurts. You're like sore after, you know. Being good at art takes determination, repetition. Can't be afraid to fail. You have to fail constantly, and you'll eventually get better. You can see that I've done that in the last few years, you know. And this is just stuff that I don't prepare any of this. This is just stuff I shit out of my head, you know, based on what a magic hat says. It's frustrating when you're in a position like me, and I'm sure some of you can relate, where you know that you're doing well and what you're doing is good and it's going somewhere positive. But the environment you're in sometimes is just riddled with reminders of how alone you are, in a sense. I'm not lonely, you know, not at all. I don't like being around too many people too often. I don't like having too many friends because I can't like show them all enough love. You know what I mean? Like, I feel bad when I'm like, oh, I haven't spoken to blah 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 in a while. I hope he doesn't think I don't give a fuck about him. Which is quite a feminine trait, I think. You know, like I try to be more like a man's man, where I'm like, if somebody was like, "Hey man, haven't heard from you in a while. You okay?" I'd be like, "Are you gay?" You know, like, fuck. Because I laugh when I see those memes of like, bro hasn't seen other bro in 5 years, and it's like you only saw each other yesterday. Because I have friends like that in my life. You know, me mate Damo and all. Like me mate Adrian. I could not speak to them for like fucking ages, and then like hang out with them in person or speak to them, and it's just like instantly like nothing happened. And then it's just all that, like, you know, oh, I did this, and where have you been at? What have you been doing? And, like, you know, have you heard this song? And blah, blah, like. It's it's tiring. I'm tired today. I think that's what I'm frustrated, and I'm tired today. Because when you know that you're putting the work in, you know, because like I'll acknowledge, I'll be like, I haven't been doing a lot of work lately, I need to do more work, and then you do it and it feels like it's fucking pointless, you know. And I'm not talking about like this stream or you guys not giving me enough money or anything like that, just in case anyone is like thinking that sort of shit. Like, it's not about the stream, it's about my personal work. It's about the off-stream stuff. It's not even about my work for the most part, but like today I'm just a little bit fed up. But I'm glad I did the stream. I appreciate the fuck out of you, Desmondo. You made me laugh. Can always rely on Demon Hunter to make me laugh. And that did get me out of... That did open me up and get me out of my funk. So I appreciate you, nigga. And I appreciate the rest of you, you know, for being here and listening to me bitch, essentially. But sometimes it's... Yeah, I think it's good because other people relate and stuff. I get where Owen is coming from. I've been like that before, where it's like, do I share? Do I keep to myself? Am I going to sound like I'm just bitching and moaning? Are people going to hate me for it? Or do some people need to like hear this shit so they can relate? Because I think a lot of people, especially in our like circles, I think you can hold yourself to a high standard like too harshly for too long and fall into a trap where you're like, dude, like you don't have to be like that. You don't have to adhere so strictly to your ever-changing ideology. Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm stuck with sometimes, where I'm just like, so none of this, none of that, don't do this, don't do that, blah, blah, and then like also trying to figure out grey areas and stuff. I'm telling you now, I got more fucking self-reflection, guilt and shame and self-assessment and shit than most religious people. Because that's what they use religion for. You know? Sometimes I envy religious people for that, where they're like, oh, I've just offloaded all of my spiritual responsibility onto a higher power. Sorted. It's like, isn't that kind of like insurance? Like, oh, you don't need to deal with the cosmological reality of existence. We've got that covered. Just read this book. I don't know. I have a feeling that it's all like very individualistic in the end. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, you know, when you die, it is just like a white, endless room with stuff from your imagination and life in it. I don't think we die and then, like, we all see Anubis and then he puts the flower on the scales or something. We're like, oh my god, this shit's real! Like, I can imagine that when we die, it is like your consciousness just goes back to source and then experiences a period of what you would perceive as a period of time where you are made aware of how existence actually works, and then you are given a choice whether to repeat the process or to not repeat the process. Or maybe you're not given a choice. I don't know. Maybe you only get free will once. Wouldn't that be weird? You get free will one time, and you get to incarnate, and you get free will. And based on how you use your free will, you will be judged upon your death. And then it would be like, right, you don't get free will anymore. And be like, what? No. God just turns you into a slug, and you're just eating leaves for like 4 weeks. Like, it's like an eternity to you. Like, nobody knows. Well, I always said, most of us don't know. Like most of us are ignorant. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm sure there's some people out there. I'm sure there's a small group of people out there that know how this all works, and it's probably just. I'm probably right, and I don't mean that in an arrogant sense. I just have a weird feeling that like it probably is just like alchemy and geometry. It's probably like the simplest way to explain it is just alchemy and geometry. You know, kaleidoscopes always fascinated me. I'm whining because I can't find my bottom teeth. You can't find them? You lost them? I felt something was off. I totally understand the mood. Thank you, brother. Did the tooth fairy sneak in and grab them, Margie? Margie keeping it real. It's like, I can't find my teeth. Fuck. Like, I hope you found. Did you find your teeth, Margie? Because I know I'm behind on chat. I hope you found your teeth, Margie. You got any fucking? Have you got any wood adhesive lying around? just like stick it in. Oh man. I always thought those ads for dentures were hilarious. Where it's like this new glue, so your teeth won't fall out at the family dinner table. New Dentalux. Fucking like never be afraid of eating again. It's fucking mad, like. Oh, I went too far down again. Fuck's sake. That dirty winged gnat. Who's a dirty winged gnat? Satan? My brother took out his fear of losing my dad on me yesterday, so I'm feeling your vibe today. Everyone has their struggles. Least I can do is try and ease the pain a bit. Yeah, like, do you know what I mean? Like, and it, like, again, it's very frustrating when, like, you're like, how can I help? And then the person's like, I don't know. You know, like, and you're kind of like, well, what the fuck do you want me to do then? Like, do you know, especially with females, like, do you know what I mean? I just want you to listen to me. It's like, what's that gonna do? And it's not like I don't, like, do you know what I mean? It's also very frustrating when, like, you're like, tell me what's wrong, like, what's up? And then it's like, nothing. And then you get hit with the, I just need you to listen to me. And it's kind of like, or not only are you a hypocrite, but now you're also contradicting yourself. So, like, oh, it's wild. It's wild. I don't know, maybe I am just fucking autistic. My logic center is too rigid sometimes, maybe. I'm not intelligent and wise enough to see the forest through the trees and shit like that, like. But quite often I just get utterly fed up with people's bullshit, to be quite honest. $1,800 to replace them is wild. It's absolutely wild. Like, how can they even justify that kind of price for something, you know? For a procedure like that, like. It's ridiculous, like. I seen a thing earlier on where pints of Guinness in Ireland are said to be going up towards €8 now. Irish people are freaking the fuck out. It was a funny enough skit. My ma sent it to me. There's like drug dealers selling pints of Guinness for $3.50, but it's not actually a pint of Guinness. It's like a pint of some Polish stout shite. And he gets a cheese grater and grates some turf on top of it and gets some toothpaste foam for the head of the Guinness and all. Like, it's pretty funny. part of me was watching it though, and I was like, that's just sad. Like, it's funny, but it's sad. Like, it's a funny premise because it's got truth to it. Like, do you know, but it's sad that like that's what's in the mainstream media. That's what's going around. Like, is, oh, the price of Guinness is too high. That's the shame of that. The like, that does kind of depress me. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like, so all the problems we have and all the fucking like existential crises and all these fucking issues that everyone, like, you know, people's lives are miserable and things are too expensive and the infrastructure's falling apart but growing too quickly at the same time, and there's too many foreigners and there's all this like discontent and fucking the legal system and the political class is corrupt and all that. But Guinness is too expensive. That's what really matters. I hate that. That's the sort of stuff that makes me ashamed to be Irish. When you're complaining about pints being too expensive, that's just fucking pathetic. Real old school Irishmen would have been fucking just making their own fucking poaching. Going blind from it, like, at least they had the balls to do it themselves. Bitching and moaning about an expensive pint of Guinness is just so fucking pathetic. Margie needs the extra strength adhesive. Fucking concrete glue. What did your brother say when he took out his fear of losing your dad? So your dad's still in hospital because of his hip? Or is he out now? It's all good. I am pity on him. I used to lash out when I had fear of losing someone too. I don't fear such things anymore. It's a symptom of a lack of faith. Yeah, fear's for gays. Fear's for fags. You can have fear in a moment, but if your courage doesn't immediately override it, you're a fag. That's how my last name is pronounced, Lichens. That's gas. Rise of the Lichens. Margie's ancestors are just like roll up in dusters and fucking cowboy hats with Winchester rifles, and it's just like, it's our land now, motherfuckers. Boss last name, Margie Werewolf, kick-ass. Cat Nine Tails whip is what the Romans used on Jesus. 9 tails with glass or metal bits woven in. Said he barely resembled a man when they were done. Yeah, like, from what I heard, Mel Gibson did a really good job of illustrating visually what is said to have happened in the fucking in the books. I remember when I watched Passion of the Christ, I was like, Jesus Christ, this is what they did to him? They didn't just, like, I thought they just crucified him, but they, like, fucked him up and then crucified him and then stabbed him. I'm surprised they didn't set him on fire. Like, I mean, after all that, why wouldn't you? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's fucking wild. And like, that does speak to, like, you don't do that to someone that you don't have a great deal of hatred for, like, do you know what I mean? And when you think about it, people like us, like, I wouldn't do all that shit to a pedophile. I'd just kill him or banish him to, like, the wild. Do you know what I mean? I'd, like, dump him in the middle of a desert or a jungle or something. Like, death or banishment. And he could choose. It's like, look, we're gonna kill you, or you can leave and never return. And I wouldn't, like, I probably would take a little bit of pleasure in it, but, like, that's why I wouldn't want it to be drawn out. I wouldn't want to turn into a monster. You know? Don't get me wrong, there's a part of me that would want to get a baseball bat and, like, beat him to death to just literally just, like, chunks on the floor. But, like, anyone witnessing that is going to witness that part of you, like, especially for, like, what, like, fucking 10, 15 minutes, while it's just like thump, 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 thump. Like, you know, is there kids there? I mean, that's fucked up, like, you know. I mean, make a point, but, like, whatever. I'd probably just hang the fucker. Or cut his head off. Like decapitations, like, don't get me wrong, I mean, like, you could slowly decapitate someone, or, like, you could decapitate someone, like, in one, like, 3 strikes instead of 1, or so. Like, you know, you could decapitate someone, and there's a wrong way to decapitate someone, and there's a right way to decapitate someone. Because, like, a beheading can be, like, well, I don't know because I've never experienced it, but it would make sense that if you behead someone cleanly, that they feel like nothing, you know? Between shock and the speed of it, and what you're doing, where you're actually severing all the all the nerve endings in the spine, so that, like, you can't feel your body anymore, you know? So, like people, I know people are freaking out, and rightly so, that 70 Christians were beheaded. They were found beheaded in the Congo there recently, and nobody's talking about it. Like, fuck all mainstream people are talking about it, and that is wild. Like, 70 men, women, and children allegedly were, like, they cut their fucking heads off. But at least they didn't burn them alive in a church. You know? Like, don't get me wrong, I'm sure it was, like, fucking horrific. I'm sure they were all shitting themselves and pissing everywhere, and I'm sure it was, like, an absolute horror show, but, like, it depends on how they beheaded them, you know? I mean, are you really going to stand there for 15 minutes and saw everybody's heads off? I mean, that's, like, fucking... I doubt it. It was probably a machete job. The Congo, you're probably talking a machete. So, yeah, that was probably quite brutal. But, like, again, even with the brutality of machete, like, if they put your head on a block and the force one, like, gets halfway through your neck, like I said, I mean, like, you're just gonna be, like, there's a chance, like, you'll, like, spaz out or something, like, go into shock, or, like, you'll start, like, shaking or some shit, like, but, like, more than likely you're probably just gonna, like, you know, the shock, the adrenaline, everything. Some people would pass out, faint, and, like, it's not the worst way to go, you know. There's worse ways to go, especially when you're talking about fucking ethnic cleansing and ideological cleansing and shit like that. I mean, like I said, at least they didn't burn them alive in a church. When you see that, that's like, whoa, that's a bad way to go. But even then, apparently, smoke inhalation, oxygen deprivation, and all that shit, you know, if you're caught in a burning building, sometimes you just, like, pass out, or, like, you know, fall unconscious for various reasons, and then you'd be unconscious, so you wouldn't feel yourself burning alive. Maybe you would, I don't know, like. But there's something about that, like, there's a reason why that Arab lads still do it, like, do you know what I mean? It's effective to a degree. If anything, it would be incredibly more effective now. I mean, if you were to have, like, a Western country decapitate someone for some kind of crime publicly, you know, and I'd do it like that. I'd be like, you know, it is your responsibility as the public to, like, I'm giving you a 10-15 minute warning. Get your kids inside. Make sure they're not looking at their phones or their screens or whatever, because we're about to execute this nigga. Like, and I don't want the little ones to see it, so fucking but I'm not their parents, so, like, put the kids away, you know. I don't know. I think it's funny that we used to have a public thing called, like, the watershed, where it's like you weren't allowed to show certain content until, like, 9 o'clock in the evening. Like, that's like it's like some attempt at morality, like, do you know what I mean? It's so fucked up because, like, we've got, like, a Roman Catholic upbringing here in the last couple of 100 years, But there was so much corruption, there was so much pedophilia, and a lot of like baby farming and like fucked up shit. That like there's a whole portion of the populace that like completely lost their faith in God because the church was so fucked up. They're really good at it. I mean, like, you know, it does feel intentional. Like, they're really good at being like, what, right, we want them to not believe in God, so how are we going to do it, you know? Hey, make God a rapist. Or even worse, a pedophile. Makes me sad thinking about that. It makes me sad thinking about that, and I think about it every day. Well, like that people are weak and it's a lack of faith and fear and all. Like, yeah, it's annoying that you can't do anything about it. It's frustrating. You would think you would be it. Like, there used to be this thought, or at least I thought that like you could embolden people, you know, and inspire people and shit like that. Like, because I've been emboldened and I've been inspired by other people. But not everybody's like me. Not everybody's like you guys. Like, do you know what I mean? Not everybody's like people like Owen or people like Tom Barnett or Chris Gardner or the Bears or something, like, you know. But there are, you know, like my mate Damo is like a really good guy, you know. I love him to bits. Don't get to see him enough. He's a really good dude. Like a brightly burning soul, you know. And it's rare. It's rare these days. A lot of us are just these like broken animals. And you can't really say that it's been done to us because we're kind of complicit in it, like, but to what extent, you know? Have we gotten to a stage where like we've been subjugated and lied to such a degree that like you could, like, it is kind of, it's very, very, very similar to Attack on Titan, where it's like you condemn these people with some argument of original sin, but they don't even remember what they did and they don't even know because you've made them so ignorant and stupid. How can you claim any moral high ground when you have infantilized all of them? Do you know what I mean? If children can't consent, and most, at least in the West, but in the East too, but more in the West, if you've infantilized the population, then has the population given consent? If you've tricked them, you know, well, they chose it. They have their own free will. Yes, but you have subverted their free will with subterfuge, deception, and a sophisticated knowledge of how to subvert their free will. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's very little room to wiggle there in that sense, where it's kind of like, but they chose it. It's like, sure, I get your argument, free will and all that, but you seemingly, evidently, have done everything within your power to circumnavigate their free will. Like, I mean, like, so you can't do that. Like, you can't be like, look at them, filthy animals, they chose this. I don't think that checks out, because sure, people can be weak, people can be like animalistic, and people can do horrible shit and make stupid decisions. But like, you've literally created an environment where the likelihood of somebody even realizing that half of this shit is going on or real is quite low. Like, for all sorts of reasons. And even if they do realize it, they won't admit it because they're terrified that other people will think they're mad. Like, do you know what I mean? And that's not an irrational fear. Like, do you know what I mean? That's a totally rational fear to be like, well, I don't want all my friends, family, loved ones, work colleagues, and neighbors to think I'm a fucking lunatic. Like, that's not an irrational fear. Oh, fucking hell. You're a great artist, Alex. Oh, thanks, Margie. Thank you. So are you. So are you. You're like you have that art, like you have an artsy vibe. That mug you made was deadly. It was really nice. You could see like the love in that mug you made. It was a mug, wasn't it? Wasn't it a mug with like photos of your son on and his family or some shit? It's beautiful. Everyone needs a goo chat or a bear chat in their life. 100%. Maybe, I don't know, like sometimes I'm like I have thoughts sometimes I'm like, is Owen doing more damage than he is doing good? I don't think so. But sometimes I've thought that. I'm sure he's thought that too. And sometimes I've done the same. I'm like, am I doing more damage than I am doing good? Because like you run that risk, you know, if you're ignorant. Whether your intention is good or not, if you're ignorant, like you run the risk of like fucking something up, like. But then you could argue that with no risk is no reward, you know. So I'm taking the risk of being honest and saying shit and using my will to, like, you know, speak things into reality. And people will hear them or not hear them, you know, like, and act or not act. And somewhere down the line, somebody could blame me for some shit, like. It's weird how all this works. Bro, your art skills are getting better. Cheers. Oh, well, cheers to you. Thanks, man. Fellow racist bear. I love that name. Your art skills are getting better. Yeah, they're getting there, all right. Yeah. I don't know if I'll ever be at like Thomas Elliot level or some shit, like, but maybe. Given the fact that I don't just draw and paint all the time. Do other shit. It's impressive in a few ways what I've done over the last 2 years. But I also don't want to get arrogant or, you know, toot my own horn too much or get lazy or complacent or something. So I'm always like, yes, you are making good progress. Keep going. Kind of like Victor. It's like, you know, by my count, that's 21. Continue. Just like completely apathetic. Like sometimes I like being apathetic with myself, where it's like, yes, you're improving. That is good. Keep going. It's like, yes, Father. Like, I kind of love that, like the Space Marine ideology from Warhammer, where it's like, you know, heresy grows from idleness and all this shit. Like, I love those one-liners. Those sayings. Because a lot of them are very true. Like, an open mind is like a fortress with its gates unbarred and unguarded. And fucking the chaplain had some great ones. Some funny shit and all, like, but I always like that one. I always like heresy stem, like is it heresy stems from idleness? I think, or heresy grows from idleness or some shit. Like, it's very true. Very, very true. You can't get anything done. You can't like improve anything. You can't make anything of yourself or your life if you don't fucking do something. You can't just think all the time. You can't just be like, well, I know the right stuff. Well, I have the right thoughts. Well, my opinions are correct. It's fucking useless, you know? You have to do shit. And that's, you have all the fucking, it's not just faith, it's works. You can't just be faith, it has to be works too. There's lots of stuff that the Christians are right about. There's lots of stuff that the Hindus are right about. There's lots of stuff that the Buddhists and the fucking, what are they called? Shintoists, the Nords, the Celts, like fucking, it's all the same shit. It's all like, what I heard something earlier on. You know the way they call it David Icke was referring to, I was watching his thing on Jake Shields, and he was referring to, like, you know, like global homo, you know, the global world, or globalists, like, you know, whatever. But he said this global cult And I was like, global cult. Glow ball cult. What glows and is a ball? The sun. So it's a sun cult. So it's like every other fucking sun worshipping cult since the dawn of time. Like, that's the one major connection I've seen over the last like several years of going down the truther sphere and all this shit. Is like there has been a cult that has been around in various forms. So maybe that imagine I connected that dot just like inadvertently by talking about all this. When I was like, so it's an enemy that takes many forms that comes from the ice. Well, like, what if there's a group of people who worship the sun because of where they come from, because they come from the ice, because they exist underground or in, you know, nigh on inhospitable regions as far as the rest of us are concerned. Maybe that's why they worship the sun. Maybe that's why it's their god. Maybe they follow it around the realm or something with the grand cycles or some shit. I don't fucking know. But it was just one of those funny wordplay things that came into my mind where it was like, huh, the global cult. The glow ball cult. Sun cult. Because it's all sun worship. That's what it looks like anyway. I can't say it for definite, but like that's what it looks like. And I've read, like, you know, I've read some books and I've seen some shit, watched some videos, and from what I can tell, from what other devout Christians have even fucking, you know, been like, you know, yeah, I used to be Christian, and then I looked at all this shit, and it's like, the Christians got it from these guys, and these guys got it from these guys, and these guys got it from these guys, and fucking, these guys call themselves Orthodox, and these guys call themselves a fucking offshoot of this, and there's the Black Sun cult, and there's the blood, and fucking, like, it's all the same bollocks of, like, the supposed rule book to the cosmos is said to have been known by a group of people, and they seem to know a lot of shit and be able to do a lot of shit and connect it to a lot of shit. So people go, wow, they sure look like they know what they're doing, these sun worshipper dudes, you know. And then they have a book and they have a, you know, the rule of law and all this fucking shit, like, you know. And then it's like, some people within the group are like, oh, I don't think it should be this way, we should do it this way, like, and then you get a slightly different version of the cult, and then it goes from there, like, you know. It's just people, you know, over and over and over again. Just people writing books, saying things. Fundamentally, it's the same thing. There's a flood, nobody knows how we got here, there's all these creation stories. Some people think it was a tree. Some people think it was a river. Some people think it was a giant ball of light. Fucking, like, nobody fucking knows. Which, like, that always just gets me, like, kind of laughing, but also kind of a little bit depressed, because I'm always like, I'm not that intelligent. I'm moderately intelligent. I'm not that intelligent. And if I'm, like, at my moderate level of intellect, I'm able to discern that, like, this is clearly all just a form of manipulation in an attempt to control the outcome. In every avenue, religion, medical, like, all of it, like. Because knowledge is power, and if you know what, like that line from fucking Bring Me the Horizon was to pray for plagues. I know something you don't know. That's all it is they know something you don't know. So they can make different behaviors. They can perform different actions and get different results and consequences and all that shit. They create ignorance. Ignorance is incredibly powerful for those who are not ignorant, you know. My teeth in, but they were hurting out in the middle of the night, and haven't seen them I looked everywhere. My husky could have got. Oh my god! If your husky is wearing your dentures, please send photos. It's been a long time, a month or more. Oh god! Well, you probably don't want them back then. Make backyard liquor great again. He had a heart attack Sunday evening, I guess. My mom is with him in a private room, the cardiology wing. My wife and I are bringing them food every day, doing when we can. So that's what he was feeling when he had like the weird feeling in his chest. He had chest pains and his hip was all off. Had a heart attack after a hip surgery. Has he had heart problems before? Or do you think it's like the drugs they're giving him or some shit like? Put his coins in, but won't be using it a while because of the wreck he had. Oh, yeah, kind of put his coins in. Won't be using it a while because of the wreck he had. Yeah, but when he gets to use it, it'd be nice. I love decorating cans. They are so useful. I put brushes, pencils, and so many things. Yeah, I love cans. I love cans. Bottles, mason jars. I love glass bottles, glass mason jars, cans, buckets. You can't go wrong with a good fucking, like a good bucket. Many uses. I'm like that. The amount of like the amount of water, like the amount of things I use to hold water, that like, you know, I've just like cut a bottle in half, or like I use a fucking old we used to get these big tubs of yogurt, vanilla yogurt, and when it was done, you just wash it out, and it has a little handle on it and all. They're just like really handy to have around. Like you could use it for multiple things. You know, you could pot a plant in it, fucking use it to put brushes in, use it to carry water, or like, you know, use it for art like I do. Keep coins in it, like all sorts of shit. Like there's a big, you know, storage is I don't know how, like, you know, insurance is like, you know, the biggest fucking business, but like storage is like a really big business, you know. Like the amount of people who have a whole like 4 or 5 bedroom household, and they have a storage unit, you know. We do, like, people live incredibly materialistic lives. Like I have loads of clothes that I probably should get rid of. Lots of t-shirts I don't wear anymore. There's even some of my art that I should probably just like burn or tear up or get rid of, because like it's kind of shit, or it's old, or whatever. It's taking up space. Oh, excuse me. I don't want to waste. I don't want to waste this aubergine that I put on the palette, so I'm gonna play some more tunes. I think it was brought on from pain of the hip, just the stress of the pain of the hip. Shit, was he not on painkillers? God damn. Fucking hell. Your dad's having a bad time of it. How old's your dad? Like, is he old, or is he only in his like 60s or 70s or something? Like, it's like my grandparents died in their 60s. My grandparents died real young. Brutal. Where is this fucking... Just slap this on. These fucking ads. Those games always look so trash. Those games always look so trash and fake. Half the time they don't even look like real video games. It's fucking stupid. I made that window too small. I put out way too much of that aubergine colour on the palette. Don't want to waste it. Put another coat on the snake and then I'll call it a day. And domo arigato to Desmondo and Pruno-sama for paying for PEINTEINGU. Remember to always pay for Paintingu. If you do not, your ancestors will look upon you with great shame. You will not like this. So remember to smash the like button and pay for Paintingu. Hi. Painting. Goo, goo, goo. Painting. Goo, goo, goo. Painting goo 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 goo. Painting goo 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 goo. Painting goo goo goo. Painting goo goo goo. Painting goo 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 goo. I don't mind when it's just a tune. Tunes are fine.
I love Monday.com.
That? No. Stupid bitch trying to sell me something? No. Not listening. Not listening. Not listening. Stupid whore. Get off the screen. If you no pay for Paintingu, you shall be deemed gay as hair until you rectify your mistake. Mistake. It's like, did not pay for Paintingu. Mistakes were made. squeaky fuck. Swear to God, one of these days I'm gonna drown you in WD-40. Right. The basic beginnings. A solid foundation, if you will, of our chemically induced anaconda. Oh, I have to do the chemical barrels. I'll do them tomorrow. Tomorrow we shall place the chemicals. Excuse me. Sumimasen. Maybe there would be no more squeak if Micah would stop eating beanus. Mike's a good guy, you know. I just love the idea that we actually refer to Mike as if it's like a dude holding a mic called Mike. God damn it, Mike, get out of the way! Anyway. Right. I hope you have enjoyed today's painting goo. I know I did. I needed it. Thank you for making me laugh. Thank you for reassuring me that I'm not I'm not just some crazy loon on the internet, that I actually have a point, and I'm not the only one who thinks like this. I hope my ramblings were more cathartic than I hope I didn't bum anybody out. But how could you be bummed out with Thomas the Tank Engine fighting an anaconda in Andorra? Impossible. Right. You know the drill. If you have any honor, pay for painting goo. I shall return tomorrow. Same timer, same pricer, same high octane painting goo energy. We shall perform something epic in Andorra. Well, kind of looks like we already have. But anyway. Right, I love yous and leave yous. Hope your evening is peaceful and content. And I shall see you all tomorrow. And remember, be good, be true, and be beautiful. I love this bit. I'll let this run. sick tunes, bro.